welcome back to the Pond Hockey Postgame Show. I'm Devan Kaney, and it is time for our Diamond Debate presented by Mark's Jewelers. Guys, I have another incredible bracelet on today. I believe they call it like a paperclip style bracelet. It's light and airy, and it's modernized, just as the way the Eagles have modernized both their offense and defense this season.
Is that's diamonds in the inlaid diamonds?
I believe so, yeah, and it's gold. And I also have to shout out Seth Joyner for helping me put it on, because it was like an IQ test. I couldn't figure out the class. Not any fault to Mark's Jewelers, all fault to me and my brain. I just have Phillies, Eagles, too many tabs open in the brain right now.
That's really nice. I like it.
Thank you. Yes. And you have some bling on. What is do you have a pin? You have a Seth Joyner pin on today.
It's a little pin.
What's on it? What is it?
It's like a little flower.
Oh, okay.
You know, Seth
thought it was a shamrock.
Seth rocks the flower every now and then. So
well,
I just
and
went with a little
sometimes
pin. I can't go that big because I'm not as big as Seth. But this little pin I thought would work.
It works. It works.
One size fits all, man.
You can put that in a vase; it'll grow. That thing.
Well, between that and then like the blinged out tiger head, it's always a look with Seth.
Wait till you see what I got next week.
Ooh, I'm pumped. Okay. Our Diamond Debate topic is, I heard you guys talking about Jordan Davis and how much his absence was felt today on defense. So our Diamond Debate is, are the Eagles more vulnerable without defensive tackle Jordan Davis? Yes or no question for the poll's sake, and if you guys want to weigh in, you can vote on the poll on Twitter and YouTube, but also comment below if you have any additional thoughts. I guess to broaden it further, I mean, how concerned should we be for the next 4 or 5 games while he's out, in terms of our especially like upcoming opponents? We have the Commanders, the Colts, the Titans, and the Packers. Is there anything the Eagles defense can do to kind of work to adjust to Jordan Davis being missing?
Well, I think if they're going to continue to struggle against the run, listen, coming into this game, they were already giving up, I think, 114 yards per game. I mean, they got gashed tonight for 143 yards, 4.6 yards to carry on 31 carries. Not every team that they're going to face is going to be, created this way, where they're going to come out and run the ball more than they actually threw it. They only threw it 27 times. They ran it 21 times. That's an anomaly. But if teams think that they can make hay against this Eagles defense by running the football, then they will run the football. So how are they going to remedy that? I think that, you've got to trust your guys on the outside to play a little more man coverage, and if you're going to play more man coverage, then your defensive ends have to be more disciplined, and I think you have to drop the extra safety in the box. You have to run some gap pressures to make sure that you got every gap across the board taken care of. Everybody get in their gap, stay in your gap, okay, and the running back has nowhere to go. But the way they played tonight, the two defensive tackles, whether they were 3 techniques, whether they were, a 2-eye or a two shade outside or a 1-eye, they got double teamed. And D-Gun, it kind of looked like their run defense last year, where the linebackers couldn't figure out where they fit because, the double team was just so good on the defensive tackles that they got movement off the ball 3 to 4 yards. And by the time the linebackers reacted to what was going on, now all they had to do is come off and get on the linebackers on the second level. I mean, the linebackers have got to get to a point where they start to read, especially without Jordan Davis. They've got to read what the blocking scheme is, and the minute that you see that double team, they got to come downhill right now and pull the guy off the double team so that the tackle doesn't get out of position and you don't create these gaps and these lanes in the defense.
Here's what I saw a little bit too much. Their big money D tackles getting double teamed off the snap. Nobody coming up to fill the gap. Okay?
Absolutely.
And that's why this young running back, Damon Pierce, had so many good lanes to run through. You have to have better gap control in the trenches. And I'm telling you right now, you don't think other D coordinators, offensive coordinators are watching this right now? When you talk about a better collection of backs coming up, Saquon, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry. This was a Houston team that was averaging 92.4 yards a game rushing. They busted up the Eagles defense for 168 yards. This 4th-round rookie behind a mediocre offensive line had over, 139 yards rushing in this game, 27 carries. The Eagles have got to find a way. Bottom line, they're going to be without Jordan Davis for quite some time now. They have got to find a way to plug the gaps on this defense, or somebody's going to catch them at the right time and make this game a lot closer than it should be.
I will say this, the technical flaws for one game is part of the issue. The other part is, I see the defensive tackles, in particular, Fletcher Cox, standing up too much.
That too.
That is something that helps a double team, because the more you stand up and you got 600 pounds pushing you,
yes,
they can get you positioned where they want to get you positioned.
Absolutely.
I mean, if as a defensive tackle, you're always taught if you get double teamed, take a knee where you are, you split the double team, and now, the linebacker can fit, and you're still going to be in your gap. But when you just stand straight up, you
lose your leverage.
You don't have any leverage, and that's my whole point. And I see that when the Eagles get in trouble via double teams on the two inside tackles, 9 times out of 10 is because they stand straight up and they're not firing low and staying low. So now the double team can move you easier.
Absolutely.
I think they needed to play a little angrier, too, on defense against the run. I mean, you're right. They 92 yards on the ground. Houston is average all year. And Pierce is a good player, but he hadn't done that all year. I thought their tackling was a little sloppy. They weren't disciplined at the point of attack. He ran through them a lot. So I think that's got to improve as well.
Mike, if you go back and you go back and look at his performance game by game by game by game. He's been building towards this all season long, because the first couple of games they started off, David Mills, was the focal point. When they realized that was too much for him, and they realized what they had in Damian, then they started to give him the ball a little more. And you could systematically over the weeks, you could see them giving him the ball a little more, and his production getting better and better.
He's very strong. The kid's very strong. He's a strong running back. So I thought they tried to tackle him high a lot tonight. I mean, they didn't chop him down, I didn't think.
You're always taught as a tackler, you don't try to hit a big man up high. You try to go low on him. I saw too many chicken wings flapping, trying to knock this man off balance. And it should have been evident early in the game, you're not going to knock this guy off balance on one hit. You've got to wrap up, and that's the problem. They do not wrap up when it comes to tackling. I don't get it.
Well, so this is a topic that I feel we actually haven't brought up, which is strange as an Eagles fan, at least in the past 2 seasons, and that is Jonathan Gannon and his defensive scheme that we love to debate so much. But how much of this, in this game in particular, do you put on Jonathan Gannon to maybe not adjust accordingly to Jordan Davis not being in the lineup? I'm watching too much baseball.
you just brought Jonathan Gannon. He has not mentioned him once yet.
Right. We haven't. I feel like Jonathan Gannon has
planted the seed and
I'm sorry.
Well, because I'm not trying to complain about the situation where it's not warranted. Listen, this is what I know, okay? When you lose a player of that stature and you're a smaller defense, okay, then you have to get creative. You got to do some slanting. You got to do some stunting. You got to run some run pressures on early downs, because, listen, the Texans didn't hide the fact that they wanted to run the football. They didn't hide the fact in the least little bit.
No, they didn't.
They came out and they ran it on first down. They ran it on second down. And if they had to, they threw it on third down. But if they didn't have to, if it was third and short, they ran it again. Okay? So now, what makes defense difficult when a team is running the ball against you is when you stay where you are and there's no movement in what you do. If the one technique is going to line up in 1, and the 3 is going to line up in 3, and your defensive ends line up where they line up, and your linebackers line up where they traditionally line up, well, pre-snap, you already know how to block them, okay? So if I slant my tackle down inside, instead of him playing the B gap in the 3 technique, if I take him across the face and I allow him to take the linebacker's gap and allow him to switch, now you screw up the entire blocking scheme. And are you taking some chances? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. But when you're getting beat with the run, the way they were getting beat with the run, sometimes you got to take some chances.
Yeah.
You can't just sit pat and be a sitting duck and allow these offensive schemes and these offensive blocking schemes to move you off the ball and move you where they want to move you.
Well, you're right. It's problematic right now because the Steelers rushed for 144 yards last week against them. So, it's kind of a recurrent problem. But again, Steelers bad team. The Texans a bad team, so I don't really know how to process it.
Someone commented, so we have to face Saquon Barkley, of course, and the Giants twice. Yeah. We have yet to play them. Derrick Henry mentioned, that we have a lot of teams that are actually talented, especially on the ground. And I guess what worries me about, and look, we're 8-0. It's a good problem to have, and I don't want to sound nitpicky or like I'm complaining, but I think if there is a concern, it's that both offense and defense, the entire team can maybe get complacent because you're undefeated.
But here's the thing, Devan. When is that going to manifest itself? I'm looking at the schedule and I see the Commanders, the lousy
When
Colts.
Derrick Henry and the Titans come and gash us.
The Titans are 4 games from now.
True.
So they've got a leeway of 3 games before they even get serious.
Look, Mike, I'm not used to having an undefeated football team. Okay, I'm my best here.
Let me say this, okay? The Eagles won this game by 12 points, okay? We expected probably a bigger win. But if you're an opposing team coming up against the Eagles in the next couple of weeks and you sit and you watch this game film, do you not have hope and belief that you can beat this football team based upon what you saw tonight? So now, Mike, I see you smiling over there.
I guess.
But I'm just saying. I'm saying when I talk about the way that you win being a manifestation of future performance, these are the things that I'm talking about. I'm not trying to nitpick. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be a downer. I just know from experience that when you play a certain way all the time,
absolutely,
okay,
it'll bite you.
That's the way that you get used to playing, and you can't turn it on and turn it off. You're going to meet that one team that on that one day has everything going the way they need it to go. And you're not going to be able to turn it on the way you want to turn it on because you're not playing the most efficient and the most integrous way in every phase of the game.
You're not wrong at all. I'm just saying, when's that day going to arrive?
Hey, it happened through halftime tonight, 14-14.
Are you actually nervous that it was going to happen for the rest of the game?
No, because a 1-5-1 team is just that bad. Okay.
And so the next team is Washington.
Okay, you can talk about Washington if you want to. They are a better football team with Tyler Heineke at quarterback than they were with Carson Wentz.
You're talking about running the football, though. We're talking about running the football. You're saying that a team that runs the football, the Eagles are susceptible to that. They could get beat by a team with a great running attack.
Absolutely, but they got Robinson and Gibson at full strength now. Okay, so if they can come in and establish the run, now Tyler Heineke is a type of quarterback that can give you problems and almost beat you. They almost beat him in the playoffs a couple of years. You guys remember that? Okay.
Yeah, and Heineke can run a lot better than Carson Wentz can. I mean, we saw, especially earlier in the season, quarterbacks who are pass-heavy, Kirk Cousins. And I always think of what you said when we were watching those games, Carson Wentz, where you can get in their head, especially this Eagles defense. You can get in their head very easily. And to the Texans' offense credit, I feel like the Eagles defense didn't really get in anyone's head today. Yeah. They still found a way to win, which I think just further proves how good the Eagles team is.
All you had to do
was like a bad football.
All you had to do was look at Davis Mills. The two interceptions that he threw, he was under severe pressure.
Absolutely.
Okay? And mistakes happen when quarterbacks are under duress. That's why I say that you need to teams. I don't understand teams that don't blitz at least or pressure at least 20 to 25% of the time in a game. It makes no sense to me, especially when you got young quarterbacks or a rookie quarterback or an inexperienced backup or a guy who's, pressure adverse. Turn the heat up. Only good things can happen.
But he's not going to do that, right, by now?
I know.
Oh, I told you that week one. I told you week one it wasn't going to happen.
It's just not going to happen. It's not.
But what did I say? I said I'm done. I'm done.
No, you're not.
Being on. I said I'm done being on the negative side of it. The team is 8-0. Okay. I'm just going to sit back and watch how this thing plays out because there's going to come a game, okay, where the lack of pressure and the passive nature of play calling is going to bite them in the behind.
I'm going to cover for you a little bit. I'm going to say you're not being negative. You're being constructive. And because everything is Camelot with this team right now, they're 8-0, a lot of people out there don't want to hear it. But what you're saying is factual. Look at who they played up to this point. They're going to play better running backs. They got a few better quarterbacks on their schedule. If they continue this trend, it's going to come back and bite them. There's no question about it.
Right, and that's what I'm saying with don't get complacent, don't get content, because then an actual good football team is going to come in and they're going to be the ones to beat the Eagles. All right, that does it for this week's Diamond Debate presented by Mark's Jewelers. Stick around because our drive of the game is coming up after this break.
Well,